beautiful summer morning. Right, so today I'm with my 20-year-old Jeep Cherokee Liberty, to those of you across the pond, and we're going to look at a little bit of welding on the chassis. I'll show you that next. Okay, so just a quick look underneath the Jeep. This was a little problem which became apparent during the last MOT test, and if you look here you'll see there's a little bit of corrosion in this chassis cross member, which we're going to have to repair. So I'm going to get the vehicle jacked up, get the wheel off, and then we'll get the cleaning up. Okay, so wheel off and jacked up and well secured for safety's sake. Now we got a proper look at this. So what we'll have, hole right through the cross member. So what we're going to have to do is just pull back the inner guard there, and then get the wire brush on to get it cleaned up. See what we have to do after that. Okay, now the inner guard is secured at the lower end just by a popper. Now this is old and not great, so if we pull back, the popper will come out, and what we're simply going to do is stick a piece of wood up in there to keep the inner guard pulled back, so we can see what's going on with our area of interest. And if we look up in there, that's actually not too bad. A little bit of a hole developing there, but this is the one that we're interested in doing something with. So big wire brush on next. Okay, so we're going to put a wire brush across it now to remove all the flaky debris and get down to our actual working area. So as soon as we start to do that, you saw the debris coming out, and you really begin to see the extent of the corrosion. So it's looking like there's the extent of our repair. Okay, so I'm just going to do another wee bit of cleaning up here. Okay, so what we've done now is I've taken away all the muck and rubbish around the repair area. And then just brought it back down to nice clean metal. As you can see, there's the debris so far. So the next thing we're going to do is actually make a little template of our repair patch here. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of paper and we are going to cut it down to be the size of our patch. So just give me a minute to fiddle around and do that off camera. Okay, so here's our patch, bar fettling when we get that far, but it's going to sit just over our repair like so. Okay, and it's always the best principle to take away as much of the corrosion as you need, but as little as possible. So we're going to set that in place, and then we're going to mark around the edge of it as best we can. Okay, without letting it move away. And remember then that on the next stage, when it comes to cutting the hole, stay on the inside of your lines. Now we're not going to cut anything around there at the bottom, we'll see why shortly. Okay, so there's our hole marked out and the template for our patch to cut. So next thing is to cut away our aperture and leave a clean edge, as well as clean an edge as we can. Okay, so we're going to cut away the rubbish around the edge of this hole, and we're doing that with the old grinder. And two things to note: so we 1mm cutting disc, but you'll note I'm actually using a part worn one. The reason for that is I tend to find that they're simpler to get in and around tight areas like this. And remember, stay on the inside of your lines. Okay, so the process will continue like such, and I'm just going to get the camera out of the way while I do this. Okay, so we have the hole pretty well tidied up, and we have it nicely cleaned around the edges. So next thing is to make our patch. Okay, so our little template that we made, bar fettling, and we're going to make our plate out of a piece of 1.1mm mild steel. So over the top, mark it out and cut it out. Okay, so we have our little template now marked out on a little piece of mild steel, as I say, and we're going to now trim that out. Okay, let's see if our patch is anywhere near the mark. So we're going to be dropping it in like so, but what we're going to do is we're going to give it a little turn along this bottom edge, and we're going to just bend it to fit the curve up around there. Okay, so we want the hint of a fold on our little patch, just to curve around that little piece of chassis member. So we're going in that shape, so we want the curve to come this way, so I'll just pop it into my little folder and give it a little gentle bit of a bend, perhaps just a wee bit more than that. Okay, now the other piece, we'll do that by tapping on the vise. So as I say, we'll just finish off the curves, giving them a wee bit more definition on the vise. And this one, the one along the longer edge of the where the chassis member joins the main chassis, we're going to bend it down the other way to form a little grounding for the patch. Okay, so with our bends in place, we can offer our patch up to the chassis, and we'll see now that it'll sit. Now I'm going to have to do another wee bit of a bend just in here. I'll bring the hammer around and tap that in a second once I begin to get it placed. But so we can see where it's going to sit. It's going to go in there quite nicely, and the next thing then to do is just to have another clean around the edges here of the chassis, preparing for a wee bit of welding. And then also on the patch, this is actually a coated piece of Maya steel, so again for an adequate weld we'll just be cleaning the edges off. One thing to note there, just when I was offering it up, you'll see here that I have just marked with a score there another little piece of this just to work our way out. Again, it's just on the principle of leave as much intact as possible, so we'll take that out and that gives us a nice ground to weld to. Okay, so a tidy up of the edges and a removal of the existing coating on the metal around what will become the welding seam. Okay, so we have the edges rubbed down, prepared and clean for the weld to go in place, so we're going to be offering up like that in a minute or two, and then we're just going to run the flap disc over the weld area on the cross member here, just to make sure we've got a nice clean ground to weld to. Where we're going to be welding a patch in place, so we're going to need a nice clean ground for the welder to clip to, so I'm just going to clean this area here. And then the last bit of pre-welding preparation. Make sure your battery leads are off. Bit of just going through the body of the vehicle. Don't want it frying anything you don't want it to. Okay, so now we're going to offer up our patch to the hole, and we're going to weld it in place. Now, I am, to say the least, a novice welder. But I have been practicing and learning a little bit of MIG welding, and we are using a 0.8mm gasless flux wire, and we're running at about 3 feet a minute wire speed, and we're on max because we're going into a pretty solid piece of steel. So let's get it tacked in place. Okay, so we're just tacked in there at the moment, and I need to adjust my light a little so that I can see the weld a little bit more clearly. now this requires a seam weld in order to comply with the necessary regulations. So I'm going to just proceed with that off camera here. Okay, so we have our patch well and truly in place, and at this stage all we're going to do next is grind the edge of the weld down a wee bit, leave it a wee bit neater. Okay, so given where we are, not too worried about the cosmetic finish, so that's our patch now in place, and then the last thing to do really is a wee bit of seam seal around the edges. And then by way of a final finish on the welds, just a nice wee bit of seam sealer. Finishes the practical part of the job. So there we go. Hole well and truly patched, sealed, and at some point we're going to have to attend to undersealing the rest of the chassis and the underbody. It's been a year or two since that's been done, but look, as always, hope this has been of some interest, and if you like it, and please subscribe, pass on, share, and goodbye.